And welcome back, once again adventurers, to Let's Play Chaos Child. In the last episode, Takuru, Miyashiro, and Kazuki steeled themselves for the inevitable confrontation with Shuichi Wakui over at the Hikariwo Building. Unfortunately, Takuru made a slight miscalculation in that he had marked down the wrong places on the map regarding the locations of the portal devices which have been spawning all the monsters. And yeah, they ran into a dead end, literally, to cut a long story short. Now, this time we're going to actually mark down the correct locations, and I'm surprised that Takuru didn't, well, his powers of memory failed him to recognize what Shinji Ito had told him, where the locations were. But as I said before, we're going to put down the correct ones. Now, I believe the first location Shinji said was the police station, which you can see very faintly, Shibuya Police Station, which is right here. There we go. And yeah, there's the Shibuya Hikariwo Building, just a couple of blocks away. Then again, that actually begs the question, getting to there will actually not be so straightforward, I guess. But anyway, second location, as Shinji said, was nearby. That is here, the Shibuya Station. That is where we need to be, at least for the second location. Now for the third and final location. We want to make sure that we triple check the 107 building, according to Seiko Noe, which just so happens to be right here. Conveniently, 107. There we go. Now the map is marked correctly. This time around. And just for the sake of convenience, I'll let Takuru mark down the other
警察はポータル装置を中心とした半径約100メートルのエリアがモンスターの行動範囲だって考えてるみたいだ。
the other locations. That seems about right. This time around, which Yep, there's our cluster of portals. Although now with that said, with this portal right here, just near the school, it's actually a miracle that we're actually able to get to Hekio Academy at all. And again, there is no proof that the monsters aren't actually limited to hanging around the portals unless that's part of what binds them, I suppose, to reality. But don't quote me on that. But in any event, it is time to prepare ourselves properly for the encounter with Mr. Suichi Wakui over at the Hikariwo Building. So, without further ado, adventurers, I shall see you all up ahead. Alright, we're now back at the point where Takuru and Kazuki are setting out to the Hikariwo Building. And this time, now that we have the correct locations marked down on Takuru's map, we should hopefully have a much better chance of actually making it to our destination. I displayed the map on my Pokemon. Sorry, Pokécon. What am I talking about? It was a photo of the map in the club room I'd taken yesterday. Though, once again, as I pointed out moments ago in this episode, yeah, given the amounts of monsters that are currently parading around Shibuya, it's going to be a miracle that we can even make it to the Hikariwo unscathed. If we wanted to get to Hikariwo, we'd have to avoid all the monsters appearing from the portal devices, which again, how the hell did anyone make it to and from the school unless you went around this way? Although the only answer that I have to that question is for some reason maybe something is actually preventing the monsters from actually entering the school to begin with, given the fact that there are no monsters manifesting out of the school's portal. But even so, you would actually think that monsters would be roaming around beyond these points after a while. The fastest and safest route from Hekio Dorm 1 to the station was...
明治通りに出よう。
Yeah. Although, wouldn't you have just gone down that way anyway?
宮下公園の横にある地下鉄の入り口から地下に潜って一気に光尾まで行く。
You know, you could have really done that anyway. Whatever. I won't question it. God damn it. Kazuki nodded and slowly offered me a piece of dried squid. Did you want me to eat it? Maybe.
これが最後の晩餐とはね。
Basically. I gratefully took the squid from Kazuki and bit into it. The unique smell and taste filled my mouth.
うまいな。
Eh, it's alright, I guess. As I felt like I was starting to cry, Kazuki grabbed me by the arm. Her tiny body was still shaking. We were going to die, so of course she was. But of course, if we actually pull this off, then hopefully we won't have to die. She may have hated to lose, but that didn't mean she wasn't scared. This is not SO2 after all. This is reality. I patted her lightly on the back to encourage her, then started to lead the way. But our plan quickly hit a stumbling block. Of course it does. Investigations yesterday hadn't found any portals around here, but of course.
やっぱりある。
Well, there could be a portal lurking around the park. Oh, too late. Never mind. Sorry about that. We concealed ourselves as we looked down from the pedestrian bridge onto Meiji Street. Five huge dragons covered in yellow and black scales were stomping up and down the block. Yeah. Of course, they weren't going to be limited to the portals. When I looked in the direction of the station, I could see the distinctive light on the portal device 50 meters ahead of us. Ah, so there was one. We went back to the park and hid. Even though there is,
おとといはなかったはずなんだ。あんな目立つところにあったなら見逃すはずがない。
じゃあ。
So are the portals still proliferating? There aren't any people here since A, there's a curfew, and B, everyone is, well, most people have been evacuated. Unless, of course, the only thing on my mind are the people still at the Hikariwo along with Wakui.
昨日から今日にかけて出現したんだろうな。
It's the only thing that makes sense. So what do we do now? We're all the way up here in Miyashita Park. Well, there was a portal. Well, there is a portal there that covers that part of Miyashita Park. How were we supposed to get to the Hikariwo from here? There wasn't much time left. Less than an hour.
ポータル装置は渋谷駅をぐるっと取り囲むようにして出現している。
That was pretty much the conclusion we came to regarding the situation before.
光は駅のすぐ東側。電車は使えない。渋谷駅には電車は来ない。
Indeed, there are no trains.
多少無理するしかないかも。正面突破的な。
Well, not like we have a choice.
確かにポータル装置の半径100メートル以内に入っても絶対に襲われるっていうわけじゃない。
Then again, having a monster notice you is a certain way to get you killed.
見つからないようにして素早く駆け抜ければ。
What if, for example, we were to run from our present location, the back of Miyashita Park Management Office, over the pedestrian bridge, down the stairs, and then to the subway entrance?
いや、危険すぎる。
Yeah. 5 dragons?
ん
Kazuki tilted her head at me in confusion. Yeah. Takuru's pessimism has a tendency to manifest in the worst situations. Why was it dangerous? Time for a lecture.
あの化け物どもの身体能力ははっきり分かってないだろう。何しろ元はゲームの中にいたモンスターなんだ。
yeah, actually, to be fair, he has a point.
私、ゲームじゃ何度も戦ってる。
Indeed. So, do they breathe poison? Fire?
そういう問題じゃないから。ゲームで戦うのと現実で戦うのはわけが違うんだ。あいつらが本気出した時の足の速さとか狡猾さを僕らは好みで体感してない。それに仮に路上うろついてる奴らをやり過ごしたとして地下鉄の駅の中に他の化け物がいないとは限らない。
Well, if there are dragons wandering around in the tunnels, then our plan to reach the Hikariwo Building and rescue Kurusu from Wakui is they're pretty much over at this point.
いざそうなった時退路がなくなる。地上に戻るわけにはいかなくなるんだから。それは想定される中で最悪の事態だ。
Which was another reason I wanted to approach things from a safe spot. But things aren't looking that convenient for us. If we died before we could use Kazuki's power, there'd be no point. We wouldn't be able to save Kurusu or hurt Wakui.
うん。
But we have no choice but to run the gauntlet anyway. Kazuki seemed to agree. I loaded the map image back into my Pokécom.
最寄り駅まで遠回りしている時間的な余裕もそんなにない。
No, we've wasted enough time as it is. I thought about heading down the tracks from Shinshin, Daikanyama, or Omotesano Sando stations, but that wasn't realistic. Those stations were still running. If one of the staff caught us sneaking onto the tracks, we might lose valuable time. Was there any other way? I glared at the map.
地図上では抜け道はあるように見える。
Hopefully, or else all this will be for nothing. On the map at least. The 100-meter radius around the portal device was just a safe zone that the police had established. If we use that as a base to look at where Shibuya was safe to travel, as long as we could get through the Seppo department right next to the Tatsuya, we could make it onto Scramble Crossing, and we had Kazuki's diesel to do that. There were no portal devices in Scramble Crossing as of yesterday, although that could have changed overnight. A new one might have appeared, but that whole area was a complex maze, both above and below ground, and we might be able to escape. Might being the operative word here.
ここだろ。
Kazuki looked at the route I showed her and quickly nodded. Looks like, yeah. Going down through here, following the blue line. If we're lucky. Only if we're lucky. The sky was a cheerful blue, but beneath it the buildings were as quiet as the dead. How very ominous. As we ran through the streets, we could hear the distant howls of monsters. I felt like I'd become a character in a video game. We were going through a tiny safe area, dodging between the various danger spots. For now. And that safe area was just something I'd come up with quickly and hadn't had a long time to think about. There was no guarantee at all that it was actually safe. But again, what other choice do we have? The stress of knowing that a monster might leap out at us at any minute started to wear me down. But still. We broke open the shutter at Seppo department store and ran through the building. And then across the abandoned scramble crossing and under the bridge. Well, at least we managed to make it that far. And somehow managed to reach the Hikariwo through the magic of plot convenience. The door was open wide and I could see many homeless people inside. One of them definitely has to begin, I hope. I hadn't seen this many people together for days. These people will prove to be the weapon that we need. There were hundreds of them. Some were sleeping on the beds made of cardboard, and others were enjoying a lunchtime banquets of drinks and snacks. All the voices overlapped into a chaotic spiral of noise. I felt strangely at home, almost like this was Miyashita Park, except it's not. Kazuki and I looked at each other, because beyond these doors lies our enemy.
これだけの数の人がいれば十分だろう。準備はいい。
Let's just hope that Wakari hasn't planned for this. We had less than 15 minutes until noon.
やれ。
Well, it's not like we have nothing left. Well, we don't have nothing left to lose. That's my point. Kazuki took a deep breath. And screamed into the Hikariwo. Again. And again. I wonder if phrasing has, well, something to do with it. All the people who gathered at the Hikariwo were staring in shock at this teenage girl who had shown up out of nowhere and started shouting nonsense at them. Nonsense that might work in our favor? All the noise in the entrance hall faded into dead silence. Kazuki's voice was the only thing you could hear. It sounded like some kind of gag. She only screamed the one phrase. Her goal was to imprint it as deeply as she could into the minds of the people here. That was the best plan we could come up with in the short amount of time we had. There might have been a better way, but as exhausted and stressed out as we were, it didn't seem likely that we'd be able to come up with it. Oh well. Of course, I didn't expect this plan to work. It was barely even a plan at all. But even so, since Kazuki's power couldn't be controlled, there was no telling what exactly it could do. The possibilities were infinite. Terrifyingly so. The same way it had created those portal devices around Shibuya and the monsters that came with them. Maybe it would do something we didn't expect and cannot predict. My hope was that it would create a sumo sticker stronger than all the ones in Shibuya combined. Although, then again, Will it be the real one, or will it just be the replicas embedded in the minds of the people here? At this point, it was all luck. I had no idea what would happen. Whether we would succeed or fail, we don't know. Maybe nothing would. There wasn't much time left at all until noon. And hopefully if Wakui is somewhere deep inside the building, then he can't hear us. These last 10 minutes were all we had left. All we could do was hope that something would appear that would help us fight Wakui. There was barely anything I could do, except maybe stay here with Kazuki. Yeah, Kazuki's starting to run out of breath. Kazuki must have hurt her throat from screaming so much. She suddenly started to cough and heave. But she kept yelling. And she's still going. It's noon. We have no idea whether our plan succeeded or failed. Kazuki gasped and fell silent. Did all we could. Well, it was a given that our plan would be a bust anyway. Nothing had happened yet. Nothing happened. That was the reality. It just wasn't enough time for Kazuki's power to create something. Yeah, and to be honest, we were the ones that dragged you into this to begin with. We lost our chance to fight back. And at this rate, we wouldn't be able to save Kurisu either. The regret threatened to overwhelm me. But I couldn't run away now. I had to go. I told myself that I couldn't stop here. We have to see this through to the end.
ごめんな、カズキ。僕を助けたばっかりに、こんなことになって。
一緒に。
Kazuki whispered softly and softly took my hand. I gripped her hand back. Her warmth made me feel just a little bit better. The only good thing about this was that Kazuki said she would stay with me until the end. Otherwise I might have been too scared to go. And in any case, Wakui did demand that both of us go. Now look up. Go to Wakui. That's your last chance to save Kurisu. The homeless men were still looking at us in shock, wondering what the hell was going on there. But there's no point in dwelling on that now. We ignored them and headed for the elevators, still holding each other's hands. The theater cube was on the 11th floor of the Hikariwo. The entrance hall was called the Sky Lobby, and it was an all-glass observation deck. You could look out and see Shibuya was from there. Unfortunately, we have no time to take in the sights. Even at this height, I could see how empty the town was. It was like time itself had stopped. And our time is running out.
おい、君たち、時間ギリギリだよ。
Oh, had to run through a town crawling with monsters that we inadvertently brought into existence. You know how it is. The entrance was empty, except for Wakui and his hostage. He spoke like he was still our teacher and we were still his students. It pissed me off. Time to drop the charade. He was a bag of shit, wearing the skin of a teacher. I hated myself for not seeing it sooner. Yeah, there were actually quite a few signs. There was a single chair next to him. Kurusu was sitting in it.
クルス
Something tells me that audible trick isn't the only weapon that Wakui has up his sleeve. She didn't respond. She wasn't tied down or restrained in any way. She was sitting straight up. Oh, sorry, sitting up straight. Her posture excellent, with her hands on her lap. Her expression was lifeless. Her eyes were open, but there was no sparkle in them. He couldn't have, but he did.
クルスに何をした？
別に大したことはしてないんだけどね。
So you claim, but you're lying.
ちょっとばかり過去の傷をえぐってあげたぐらいだよ。
Yeah, that doesn't necessarily count as nothing.
お前
体を傷つけたりはしていないんだ。ちょっとおとなしくなってもらっただけさ。非難されても困るな。
My vision turned red with rage. Yeah, you'll want to talk about criticizing. I was overtaken with the impulse to punch him in the face. Unfortunately, that would be too easy. Kazuki gripped my hand tighter. Our eyes met. She said nothing, but she sadly shook her head. I thought I could tell what she was trying to say. Don't resist. We come here to be killed. We would turn ourselves over to Wakui in exchange for Kurisu. Even though, yeah, I sincerely doubt that he and the committee would ever keep their word. We'd run out of ideas. Kazuki's words hadn't worked. Our last hope was to do whatever Wakui wanted. I gripped my fists tightly and swallowed my anger. It won't serve us here.
クルスを解放してください。僕らは抵抗する気はありません。
あ、そうなの？
Wakui chuckled and put his hand on Kurisu's shoulder in a friendly way. I was almost enough to bring the anger back. Yeah, he's deliberately trying to provoke us.
その割にはさっき下で何かやってたみたいだけど。
What do you expect? We were talking to the people down there. Just a friendly conversation. Yeah, he saw through our plan. said he found out. Not that it worked anyway. It was utterly pointless. Kazuki couldn't speak. I had to come up with something.
でも結局何も起きなかったんですよ。
Takuru, that's even worse than saying nothing.
だから全部諦めてここに来たんです。あれぐらい見逃してくださいよ。あなたの方が圧倒的に立場は上じゃないですか。殺すなら殺してもいいですから。でもせめてクルスだけは助けてほしいんです。それぐらいのお願いは聞いてくれてもいいでしょ。
宮代くんはそんなに死にたいのかい？
Well, we're nothing if not prepared for that, at least. I gulped.
昨日みたいなことをされるぐらいなら死んだ方がマシです。そうしたら楽になれるから。
I spoke honestly.
そっか、なるほどね。
Yeah. Not that I ever liked you, Suichi Wakui, but I like you even less now.
委員会からの
Which
指
is
示ではね、
surprising.
君たちを殺せとは言われていないんだ。
Fall for it, Takuru.
あ、いや失礼。言い方が正しくないな。
No. Yeah, I thought as much.
和樹くんについては殺すなと言われているんだ。君は貴重なサンプルなんでね。
Yeah. They want to harvest her code sample.
宮代くんについては、正直どっちでもよかったりする。彼女からは殺してもいいという許可はもらったわけだから、僕の気分次第という感じかな。
Yeah.
は？
Who was she? Someone you thought you knew, but don't. What did he mean it was up to him?
ま、とりあえず宮代くんのことは後で考えるとして。
He laughed mockingly. And took out a sword. Yeah, Suichi Wakui is a gigolomaniac. That is a genuine D sword. God damn it. Which means that he can project his own delusions through negative antiparticles. Its shape was so awful, so terrifying that just seeing it made me want to throw up. It felt like the physical embodiment of what a piece of shit Wakui was.
まずは和樹くんに。
You are a bastard. He put the blade up to Kurusu's neck.
絶望してもらおうかな。
God damn it. He's going to do to Kazuki what Sakuma tried to do to Takuru.
待て！
That wasn't the deal. Hate to break it to you, Takuru, but Shuichi Wakui never gave a shit about any deals. At least with us. Instantly, Kazuki shook off my hand. For we have a weapon of our own. I made her own D-sword appear. The blade whipped about like a snake and then hardened into a solid, straight form. Well, kind of puts the lie to the fact that we weren't going to fight, but then we actually should have known that we were going to have to fight Wakui after all. She flung it straight at Wakui. It was just a quick snap of the wrist with no wind-up at all, but it flew so fast that it created shockwaves as it traveled. Wakui blocked it with his own blade. Of course he does.
抵抗する気満々じゃないか。先生に嘘はいけないな。嘘をついたのはどの口だい？
Right back at you, Wakui. God damn it. Suddenly and inexplicably, Kazuki stuck out her tongue. What? What was she doing? She looked up toward the ceiling and stuck it out more. You really are a garbage piece of shit, Wakui. She stood on her tiptoes, her legs shaking like a newborn fawn's and her hands desperately flapping to keep balance. It was like she was being pulled up by an invisible fishing hook that had pierced right through her tongue.
Kazuki, どうした?
Tears formed in the corner of her eyes. Her expression contorted in pain. Her eyes looked to me for help. Yeah, we should probably do something about this.
子供の頃、親に言われたことはないかい？嘘つきは閻魔様に舌を引っこ抜かれるぞってさ。
You're a miserable swine. I felt something cold run down my back. I had a very bad feeling. There was no time to even reach out my hand. Before Kazuki bit off her own tongue. Blood spurted everywhere. Her frail body lost its balance and collapsed. I ran over and held her in my arms. Her eyes rolled back into her head and bubbles were pouring out of her mouth as her body spasmed with pain. But there was no blood around her mouth. So what had I just seen? Confused, I used my fingers to open her mouth. Her tongue was still there. It hadn't been severed. I looked around and couldn't see any pieces of it lying on the floor. Wakui was grinning.
自分が舌を噛み切るリアルな幻覚を見せられたら、さすがにショックでかいよね。
So it was a delusion after all.
でもこんなのまだまだ序の口だよ。
Yeah, even now Suichi Wakui is toying with us. Miserable piece of shit.
和樹くんには徹底的に壊れてもらわないと。
Of course you do.
サンプルっていうのはそういうものだからね。
Well, things are definitely not off to a good start here. So when we return, adventurers, yeah, hopefully Takuru can figure out a way to deal with Wakui in this situation, and hopefully, yeah, hopefully he can achieve some sort of miracle soon, or else we're in some serious trouble. As always, adventurers, until next we meet.